Hi guys, so my name is Yash Baheti. I'm a BTech from IIT Roorkee and I'm a maths expert here at Ask IITians. So we are going to start a new lecture series. So in this lecture series we are going to deal with the chapter indefinite integration. Now indefinite integration is a very important topic because there are two more topics connected with this, which is the area under the curve or definite integrals and then differential equations. So you need to be good at this to cover the next two chapters as well. So that is why you can understand that this chapter is most important because there are two more chapters coming. In this chapter we are going to start with a general introduction, then I am going to tell you the different techniques of integration. There are actually three techniques of integration: substitution and by parts and then partial fractions. So after these techniques I am going to tell you some examples and then some of the questions or some of the techniques which does not covered in these three. So we'll start with the first part, that is introduction. Now in this introduction part, carefully understand that what is integration and how we have achieved it. Also remember the importance of the integration constant, that is C. So let's begin. Integration. Now integration is as far as I would say that integration is the most toughest chapter of your 12th mathematics portion. Now why this portion is tough, or do the students need to fear? No, they don't need to. What makes integration tough is the number of variations that the integration has. For example, in trigonometry you would have saw that there are various formulas and which formulas to remember and how to apply. So same is the concept here. There are actually so many types of variations that even if you study just the theory, then you will get confused at some point. But if you are good at integration, what are the ways to be good at integration? I mean, you can solve nearly all the questions that you can see. So refer the books, refer some materials, or solve the test papers that will give you. So if you at least see each and every type at least once, and if you have solved it by your own, then I can say that you are not going to be bad at integration. You will probably do nearly all the questions. Now this chapter is very important as well. So because this chapter is tough, you cannot leave it. This chapter is important because there are two more chapters that are associated with this chapter. So if you are good at this first chapter, that means you are good at three chapters, that is the indefinite integration, this chapter itself, then definite integration, which includes application of integrals in area under the curve as well, and the third chapter is differential equations. So don't see that you are only studying one chapter. Try to see this chapter as that you are studying a portion. If you miss this, or if you are not good at indefinite integration, then you can't do the upcoming chapters as well, the chapters that are yet to come in the integral calculus. So the most important chapter of integral calculus and probably of your 12th class is this integration, and lots and lots of things depends upon this chapter, okay, that which part, how you are going to solve. Now some of the students may also say that you need to think a lot. It's not that you need to think a lot in this chapter, it's just that you need to stick to the concepts. So whatever form I'm going to tell you and whatever things I'm going to tell you, and remember how I'm solving the question as well. If you are carefully following it, then you will see that it's actually a constructive approach. Rather than thinking directly the solution, it's actually a constructive approach. Each and every approach, no matter you're correct or wrong, in your first step, if you're wrong, then the step, if you're constructive, then you will get a hint that okay, you don't have to do this, you have to do the other way around. So constructive approach is very important, which we will see here. So first of all, the question comes that what is actually the integration, what integration is all about. Suppose that we have a curve, we have this curve like this. I want to find out what is the area bounded by this curve, okay. Or let's say that we have a point, and this point starts from here and this point goes till here. So I am saying that from the point A, the starting point, to this point B, I want to know that what is the area or bounded between points A to B. Area bounded, that means between the curve and x-axis, like this. So I want to know what is this area. So this area that you are going to see now, this area is given by integration. So integral is nothing but you can say that area under the curve. We are going to give you any curve, and you are going to find out that what is its area. Sometimes graphical approach is very good, but most of the times you are just going to integrate it. Now, what does indefinite integration does? Indefinite integration just found out the area, but it doesn't give you any that from where to where you are finding the area. It just gives you an area, okay, in terms of a variable. So if you put your starting point and your end point, you will get the area. Let's explore more. So as I said that integration is nothing but actually area under the curve. So suppose that we have any curve, let's say y is equals to f of x, which is this curve f of x. Now how this theory came into existence, that's the main important point. How are we finding the area under the curve? So first of all, remember that this is the sign of integration. Okay, so what I want integration of fx dot dx. Dot dx, that means I want to integrate this curve with respect to x. If there is x, that means with respect to x. If this would have been with respect to y, then I would have integrated in terms of y. What is the difference? If you are integrating in x, this is the area that I am looking for. Okay, if you are integrating with respect to y, then this is the area I am looking for. Okay, so this is just the conceptual point that if we are looking at this, then which area are we looking for? Now how to find out the area? Okay, how we end up at this different type of function or this sign, how we end up here? Let's suppose that you have a curve like this. Now I want to find out area from this point to this point. Now carefully look what I am going to do. What I am going to do is that I am going to divide this curve into some small curves or small parts. What I am going to do is that I am saying that I am going to integrate this curve as by making some rectangles. So for example, this is one of the rectangle, and then I am going to make this as my next rectangle, and then this is my next rectangle. Similarly, so on, this is my next rectangle, and then this last one is my next rectangle. So what I am saying that I am going to integrate my whole curve in terms of rectangles. But the major point is that if you are integrated in terms of rectangle, these small spaces are still vacant. These spaces are vacant. Okay, you are actually leaving this space. We are only calculating the area. So what will be the area? The area will actually be summation of, let's say that this width is very small. So let's say that this width is dx. And what is the height? What is this height? So this height will be f of x. That means the value of function at that point, which is this, which is its height multiplied by the width, that is dx. So summation of fx into dx at each and every point is your area. This is the area. But the main portion, the point of confusion is that you would ask me that, sir, why have you left this small portions? Where are we accounting the small portions? That means that our method is having some error. There is a slight error. In order to remove this error, what I am going to do is that I am going to say, okay, wait, let's reduce the width. Let's reduce the width. If the width has been reduced, then these small portions will be now negligible. If the width has been reduced, these small portions will be very small. But still there is an error. Although it's small, but still there is an error. So what to do? If the width of your rectangle is tending towards 0, if the width is getting smaller and smaller, the error is getting decreased, the error is decreasing. But by the width is getting smaller and smaller, you are actually increasing the number of rectangles you need to add up. How? For example, let's say that this part is A and this part is B. I divided the length from A to B in some n parts, and the width of each part is dx. So this is the number of parts or number of rectangles. If I am saying that dx is tending towards 0, that means n is tending towards infinity. If n, which is the number of rectangles, is tending towards infinity, that means you need to add the infinite rectangles. If the dx is very close to 0, we can say that the error is so small that we can neglect it. Or because it's tending towards 0, then our error is also tending towards 0, but the number of parts or the number of rectangles are tending towards infinity. So how are we going to calculate the infinite rectangles? How are we going to add all those infinite rectangles? The summation has actually become a limit dx tending towards 0, which implies n tending towards infinity, summation fx dot dx, okay, and then this is the summation. Because dx is tending towards 0 and there are infinite parts, okay, there are actually infinite parts, so this whole thing has been termed as integral fx to dx, fx dot dx. That means the summation and the limit, they have been combinedly referred, when dx is tending towards 0, they have been combinedly referred as the integral sign. Integral sign, that means the dx is very small, you have infinite rectangles and you are integrating them, you are adding them to get the area. So this is the method in which we get this area. So this is integration as area under the curve. Now there is one important thing, integration constant. Suppose that integration of f of x dot dx is actually gx, then we add a constant of integration, that is c. Why this constant of integration is important? Suppose that integration of any function fx dot dx is actually x square plus constant. Now what happens is that this constant can vary. This constant will vary. How this constant will vary? X square plus 1 or x square plus 2. This constant can be anything depending upon the nature of the curve. That means the curve that we have got is actually a variable curve. It's actually representing a family of curves like this. If there is an x square, then depending upon the value of constant, it can be any of these three curves or maybe any of the infinite curves that lies in the family of curve. So with this integration constant, we are actually referring to a family of curves. But why there is an integration constant? Why is this integration constant came into picture, and why there are this family of curves or the infinite curves? This answer is given by integration as an antiderivative. Integration is actually related to derivative. Derivative and integration are actually opposite of each other. Let's see how. If d by dx or differentiation of a function capital Fx is actually small fx, then integration of that small fx will be capital Fx plus c. Now, that what I'm trying to say, if d by dx of, let's say, x square is actually 2x, then integration of 2x dot dx will be x square. That's what the integration as an antiderivative say. But there is a constant c. Why there is a constant c? D by dx of x square plus 2 is also 2x. D by dx of x square plus any constant number c is also 2x. So integration of these two things. Now, why there is a difference? Suppose I gave you this 2x only, then you would say that, sir, it has been differentiation of x square. If I gave you 2x, you cannot differentiate it that whose differentiation is 2x. That means if you are integrating 2x, there can be infinite possibilities. It can be either x square, it can be either a differential of x square plus 2, it can be either a differential of x square plus 100. So when I give you that that differentiation of fx is 2x, you can't specify what is that fx because that constant gets 0. So that is why when we integrate 2x, we will say that x square plus c, this c can be anything, we don't know, and that is why it's a family of curve. That is why all those different family of curves are there, because you don't know whose differentiation is your small fx. But integration of small fx will be x square. So this gives us a family of curve. D by dx of all these curves is actually 2x. So that is why integration as an antiderivative actually tells you why there is a family of curve and what is the importance of this integration constant. We call this C as integration constant. Okay, so remember that whatever you are integrating, it's not just a single curve, it's a family of curve, and you need to add plus C at the last. That plus C is 1 marks of your board exam. So if you don't write it, then you will lose that mark. So plus C, remember to write it. Plus C is refers actually that it's a family of curve and not a single curve. So let's see that some of the other formulas as antiderivative. For example, d by dx of x to the power n plus 1 divided by n plus 1 is actually x to the power n. That means integration of x to the power n is x to the power n plus 1 divided by n plus 1, and then plus c we have to already add. So to all those functions whose derivative you know, the reverse of all those, the reverse formula will be of integral. If you know this thing, that this is the differentiation of this function, that means this function's integration will be this function. Okay. Similarly, we know that d by dx of cos x sin x is cos x, so integration of cos x is sin x. D by dx of log x is 1 upon x, so integration of 1 upon x will be log x. D by dx of cos x is minus sin x, so integration of sin x will be minus cos x. Why? Because there is a minus sign. Okay. So remember, d by dx and reverse differential is like going in that way, and integration is like going in that way. D by dx of e to the power x is again e to the power x, so integration of e to the power x is also e to the power x. Similarly, for tan x it's sec square x, and for sec square x it's tan x. D by dx of cosec x is minus cosec x cot x, so integration of cosec x cot x is minus cosec x. Similarly goes for sec x, d by dx of sec x is sec x tan x, so integration of sec x tan x will be sec x, and then there is a plus c everywhere. Similarly, d by dx of cot x is minus cos x square x, so integration of cos x square x will be minus cot x. Inverse, it goes with each and every function, so with inverse as well, d by dx of sin inverse x by a is 1 upon square root of a square minus x square, so integration of 1 upon square root of a square minus x square will be sin inverse x by a. Again, similarly for tan inverse, sec inverse, and then a to the power x is a to the power x ln a, so a to the power x integration will be a to the power x divided by ln a. Ln a is a constant, so either I can take it out or I can do anything with it, okay, because ln x is a constant. So by any mean, if I am integrating 2x square, then I can write it like this, 2 integral of x square dot dx. So I can take anything constant which is in multiplication or in division out of the integral. So that is what happened here. There was an ln a here as well, but because it was a constant, it came out and it's now here. So let's solve a question on this. But first of all, one important thing is that you need to remember all these formulas that I have told you. These are the basic formulas. You need to remember all these formulas. The next strategies that we are going to see, they all will be depending upon these formulas. This is the basic formulas. So you need to learn by heart all these formulas. Very important. Let's try to solve a question. So we need to do this integration of sin x divided by 1 plus sin x. Now, as of now, we have already only studied the general formulas or the basic formulas. In each and every question of integration, simplification is the most important strategy. I don't know integration of this function. I don't know how to integrate it, but I know that I can simplify it to make it in any of these forms. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to apply some manipulations, or I'm going to simplify or express it in such form so that it comes in a form whose integral is directly known. Let's see how. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add 1 and subtract 1 divided by 1 plus sin x dot dx. Then I'm going to do the partial fraction, so integral 1 minus 1 upon 1 plus sin x dot dx. Now integral is distributive, okay, so that means what I can write 1 dot dx minus, again minus 1 I can take out, 1 upon 1 plus sin x dot dx. So this is equals to integration of 1 dot dx minus integral of, let's rationalize it, so 1 minus sin x divided by 1 minus sin square x is actually cos square x dot dx. I can see the form. Let me simplify it more so that you can see as well. I am again splitting the terms. I am again doing the partial fraction. So 1 upon cos square x is actually integral of sec square x, and there is a minus outside, and minus of minus sin x is plus sin x. So dx, and again applying the distributive property, plus integral of 1 sin x upon cos x is tan x, and other 1 upon cos x is sec x dot dx. Now can you see, d by dx of x is 1, so integral of 1 will be x. D by dx of tan x is sec square x, so integral of sec square x will be tan x. And then integral of d by dx of sec x is sec x tan x, d by dx of d by dx of sec x is sec x tan x, so integral of sec x dot tan x is sec x. Okay, there are three constants, plus c here, plus c here, and plus c here. Let they name that c1, c2, c3. So because these are constants, I can combine them and I can represent in some other constant. I know that there will be 1 plus c here, and then 1 plus c here, and then 1 plus c here, but after all they are constants, so I can add all those constants and I can represent it like this. Now see, I didn't know the integral of this function, but I did the manipulations and I brought it into this level. Why I did it here? Because I know the integral of tan x dot sec x, and I know the integral of sec square x, but I didn't know the integral of any of these things. So as soon as more you practice, you will understand that how I am going to make the correct forms. Let's see one more question. So sin cube x plus cos cube x divided by sin square plus cos square. Again, I can clearly see that we need to do the partial fraction, but you will ask me that, sir, how are you doing this? Again, because I have practiced a lot of questions. When you will see them carefully, you will get the hint as well. Looking at the question and looking at the options will give you a lot of hint that what you need to do. But actually here there are no options. But suppose that if there would have been a log x in the options, then I know that there has to be somewhere 1 upon x forming and we need to integrate. So always look at the options as well. They will give you a lot of hint. If there are no options, try to concentrate on the question. Integration is such thing that you need to think one step ahead. So what I am thinking is that if I do the partial fraction, is there any form forming? That means I am thinking one step ahead. That's what you need to do. Look how I can simplify this. Again, distributive property. So sin cube x divided by sin square x dot cos square x dot dx. Obviously there has to be a dx here. Plus integral of cos cube x divided by sin square x cos square x dot dx. Obviously sin square will cancel out one of the 2 of the sin square, and there will be only sin x. So sin x upon cos x is again 1 tan x, and 1 upon cos x is sec x. Tan x into sec x, I know the integral. Let's look at the next part. 3 cos and 2 cos in the denominator will cancel out. Cos upon sin is cot x, and then 1 upon sin is cosec x dot dx. So integral of tan x dot sec x, it's sec x plus, let's say, c1. Okay, and then what is this? Integration of cot x and cos x. What is the d by dx of cosec x? D by dx of cosec x is minus cosec x cot x. So integration of cot x into cosec x will be minus cosec x. Let's say plus c2. So again, my final answer is sec x minus cosec x, and again to plus c1 and c2 I am going to write at some other constant, let's say capital C. It's important that you must combine all the constants and represent them as a single constant. So I hope that you have understood this question. The most important part is thinking one step ahead and looking it carefully that what can be done. Welcome back. So I hope that you have understood each and everything that I have taught in this part. Now the importance of this part is because there are lots and lots of formulas as an antiderivative that I have written down in the video. Now you need to remember all those formulas because those are the basic formulas. What you are going to do is that you are going to use those formulas to solve some tough or critical questions, but those formulas are important. If you don't remember those formulas, then you can't proceed. So this is it for this part. In the next part, we'll start off with the 3 techniques of integration.